You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The bare minimum expectation for Syracuse football: make a bowl game. I think we all understand that this is a younger team than it was a year ago. They got a lot of new starters on this team. A lot of players graduated. A lot of players went to the NFL, which is really healthy for a program in general, sending a lot of players to the National Football League. And I think we all understand that Syracuse has a tougher schedule, at least on paper, compared to last season. They have 4 teams that they are playing that were in the college football playoff last year. 4 of them. I think only Mississippi State can say the same, that they have 4 teams from last season's college football playoff. It's not an easy schedule. It's a new team, new quarterback situation, but the bare minimum is still to make a bowl. And anything on top of that, I think would be really good for Syracuse football, not just for 2025, but the long-term potential of this program. And with that being said, I think we have a new friend to welcome here on this channel, okay? No, I'm not bringing in some surprise guests or anything right now, but I am going to show what former Clemson football walk-on William Cockerill had to say about Syracuse for 2025, but really specifically, he released his ACC football predictions for this upcoming season. And take a look if you're watching on YouTube, and don't worry, if you're listening, I will tell you where Syracuse is. All right, I'm showing it on the screen right now. William Cockerill's ACC football predictions. He has Clemson at number 1, finishing at 12-0. But if you look at number 5, he has Syracuse football at 8-4 overall, 6-2 in the ACC. And right off the bat, Syracuse fans, would you accept that for this season? Would you be happy if Syracuse goes 8-4 overall and 6-2 in the ACC? Comment right now in the comments section below. Once again, this is coming from former Clemson football walk-on William Cockerill. I believe he played for the Clemson Tigers in 2014, so over a decade ago, but still, he's played in college football. He certainly knows his football. He's a big believer in Fran Brown. He said over on Twitter, it's on Twitter if you want to take a look at it, he has Syracuse at 5th in the ACC for 2025 at 8-4 overall, 6-2 in the conference. I would certainly sign up for that. That would be outstanding for Syracuse, not just because it would bring us a lot of joy for 2025, but think about what it would mean for the future of Syracuse football if they were to have that type of season this upcoming year. Because think about it this way. Think about some of the wins that they would have on their schedule. Think. At minimum, they would be beating one of, or actually 2 of, Tennessee or Notre Dame or Clemson or Miami or SMU or Georgia Tech on the road if Syracuse is to go 8-4 overall, 6-2 in the ACC in 2025. So I would certainly accept that as a really excellent season for Syracuse. And it would be even more impressive than what they did last year, which is go 9-3 in the regular season and 10-3 overall, just because of the different circumstances. New quarterback. Yeah, same coaching staff, but new starters across the board. Tougher schedule. 8-4 would be outstanding for Syracuse. And 3 things would become very clear if the Orange go 8-4. First, they're not going 8-4 if one of their quarterbacks doesn't emerge as a legitimate starter in the ACC. We're talking about, of course, either Notre Dame transfer Steve Angeli or LSU transfer Rickie. We still don't know for sure who the starting quarterback is going to be for Syracuse, but what we do know in all likelihood is that if Syracuse goes 8-4, one of those guys stepped up and had a fantastic season for Syracuse. We would certainly be very happy about that, not just because of 2025, but as we have discussed here on this channel, both of those front runners to be Syracuse's starting quarterback have eligibility beyond this season. Steve Angeli can play in 2026, and Rickie Collins is actually a redshirt sophomore, meaning he has eligibility for 2027. It's not like Kyle McCord where it was 1 year and that was it. If one of these guys steps up, which in this scenario they go 8-4, one of them did, Syracuse, assuming that none of them enter the portal, would have its starting quarterback for 2026 and beyond potentially. But number two, and this is probably the one where it would give you the most optimism. I think if Syracuse were to go 8-4 in 2025, we would potentially be talking about Syracuse football for the college football playoff by 2026. Now, this is obviously a long-term future forecast. So I want to be very clear. I am not necessarily predicting Syracuse to make the playoff in 2026. And who knows what's going to happen with expansion and all that, if it's going to go to 16 teams. And if it does, is there going to be a cap on the amount of teams that can be in per conference? Who knows? But assuming, let's say it stays at 12 teams, even if it stays at 12, if Syracuse goes 8-4 in 2025, they would have playoff aspirations for 2026. The reason is pretty simple. There's a few reasons for it. Number one, you would have your quarterback again. And also, all of those young players, a lot of them probably played pretty well for a team to go 8-4. Hopefully, they would be back and not enter the transfer portal. But with that being said, also go look at the schedule. You can look at the future schedule for Syracuse right now for 2026 and even beyond that. You can see all the opponents and some of the dates and have already been released. Their non-conference opponents for 2026, New Hampshire, Toledo, at UConn. They do have Notre Dame, but Notre Dame is at home. And in the ACC, Syracuse does have to play Clemson, but that will be at home in 2026. And who knows beyond that for the teams that they're playing in the ACC. I mean, I do know that they're playing SMU and Louisville at home, which you would think would be the toughest matchups in 2026. But the only team you could truly count on in the ACC being good every single year and just beyond good is Clemson. And you would have Clemson and Notre Dame at home in 2026, combined with there is no Tennessee on the schedule either in your non-conference. So we would be talking about potentially with a strong 2025, Syracuse football being a playoff team in 2026. And finally, if Syracuse goes 8-4, 6-2 in the ACC, like William Cockerill is saying, there will be Fran Brown leaving to join insert big-time football program rumblings this offseason. It's bound to happen, and it is a good problem to have. And I want to preface this again by saying I'm not predicting that Fran Brown is leaving Syracuse football, but I want to propose this scenario to you here, okay? Billy Napier over at Florida. Let's use them as an example. Florida, obviously a big-time SEC program, storied history. They haven't really been good recently. Billy Napier's entering a huge fourth season for Florida. They nearly fired him last year before a late season surge kind of saved his job. But they were about to fire Billy Napier over at Florida after 3 years. If they underachieve this season, do you think a team like Florida would be interested in Fran Brown coming off a 9-3 and 8-4 regular seasons at Syracuse and his prowess to already recruit and to recruit specifically in the state of Florida? Would there be at least a phone call maybe placed? I'm not saying Fran would be interested, but it's bound to happen if Syracuse were to go 8-4. Hence why I do believe, hey, if you're Syracuse, you might want to get ahead of this and get a contract extension done with Fran Brown. But overall, if Syracuse goes 8-4, 6-2 in the ACC this upcoming season, that would be outstanding for this program, not just for this season, but beyond.